There's a version of this story where I didn't say it out loud. In that version, I keep the thought where it belongs. In the petty, private part of my brain that only speaks up when I'm mad about laundry or the way he chews. And it dissolves the way bad thoughts do when you don't feed them. We get married in September like we planned. We send best day ever texts from a cabin without Wi-Fi, and no one ever knows that for a few ugly weeks I tried on the word settled the way people try on a jacket they can't afford. All mirror, no purchase. But I did say it out loud. I said it into a glass of Prosecco at a corner table in a noisy restaurant on a Friday night because my friend Lily asked me a question I wasn't brave enough to answer kindly. "Are you happy?" she said, eyebrows raised in a way that means tell me something true. And I, full of pre-wedding stress and cheap courage, exhaled and said, I love him. He's a good man. But sometimes I worry I settled. The table got weirdly quiet around the edges, like the room's noise dipped for emphasis. I laughed too loud to cover it. Not in a bad way, I added, which is exactly the way the word bad works. Just
no fireworks.
Stability. Maybe that's better. I don't know. I wasn't trying to be cruel. I was trying to impress a girl who still lives like there's a soundtrack to everything, including honesty. I didn't know Jonah was 3 feet away, waiting at the host stand. He'd come early to surprise me and walk me home because the wind had turned cold, and he hates the way I hunch my shoulders when I'm freezing.
He heard me.
I didn't see him leave. He texted heading home, feeling off. "Love you," and I sent back a kiss emoji, not understanding that I'd already put the ring under a microscope. I got home to a quiet apartment with the TV paused on a cooking show and a post-it on the counter next to his keys. "I'm going to my brother's tonight. We'll talk tomorrow. Please charge the iPad. It died while I was checking the recipe for the cake tasting. A normal note if you don't know anything. A bad omen if you do." I didn't sleep much. I kept replaying the sentence.
Eerily settled.
Like, maybe the wording would change on the 5th loop. By morning I was ready to tree it. Flowers, my softest voice, a speech about stress. A plan.
I didn't get to the plan.
The talk happened at our kitchen table where most of our hard talks happened, right between the fruit bowl and the junk drawer we swore we'd organize one day. Jonah's hands were folded in front of him like he was interviewing me for a job we both knew I could have if I wanted it. He didn't sound angry. That made it worse. "You said you settled," he began steady. "I don't need you to tell me you didn't. I need you to tell me why." Words arrived sticky. "I was venting," I said. "I was being dramatic for a friend who likes dramatic. I didn't mean." He raised a hand. Not to shush, just to pause the default defense.
2 things, he said.
1, hearing it sucked. That's on me to process. 2, and I need you to hear this cleanly, when I got home last night I saw messages. On the iPad. My stomach did that elevator drop that makes your palms sweat. Our kitchen iPad is the one we use for recipes and streaming while we cook. It's also the device I logged into last year with my Apple ID because it was convenient, and I forgot to log out. He didn't need to snoop. My chats were there, the blue and gray parade of my bad habits. "It lit up with your group thread," he went on. "Notifications." I didn't go digging. I saw enough. There were screenshots, too. Jokes about how safe I am. How I'm a provider, not a spark. A message to Lily after you got home. "I love him, but I guess this is grown-up love. No butterflies, just bills." And something older. Months ago. Where you wrote, "If I'd waited another year, maybe I'd have met someone more my speed, but Jonah is here now and he's good." I opened my mouth and closed it. I wanted to argue about context, tone, how text makes cowards of all of us. I also wanted to crawl into the drawer with the takeout menus and shut it from inside. I shouldn't have said those things. I managed. I was rattling my cage. You do everything right, and sometimes my brain wants chaos for a minute so it can say it survived something. He nodded like he'd rehearsed hearing that. "That might be true," he said. "But you're not rattling a cage alone. You're rattling one with me in it. We sat for a minute in the silence that follows the sound of a choice arriving.
He's not a dramatic man.
He's a good, census-taking man, the kind you want reading the directions the first time you build furniture. So he did what men like him do when they hurt. He made a list. He'd already done half of it. I called the venue first thing, he said, eyes on the table. They'll refund 80% of the deposit if we cancel by Monday. The caterer keeps the tasting fee. Your dress shop can resell if we give them 6 weeks. I emailed them already. I'm not asking you to pay me back for any of it. That's not what I want out of this. What do you want? I asked, and the way my voice shook made me want to bite my tongue off. I want a marriage where my wife talks about me like I'm real even when I'm not in the room, he said, eyes still down. I want to not be the soft place you park because you got tired of chasing fireworks. I want a person who says, we don't have butterflies every day, but we have trust, not we have bills, so butterflies don't matter. He looked up then, not angry.
Clear.
I don't want to marry someone who thinks I'm plan B, even for a single sentence. I said the only thing I had left that was true and not pretty. I love you. I know, he said softly. And I love you. That's why I'm not going to yell. But I'm also not going to swallow this and then wonder 10 years from now why I'm a resentful stranger. He slid a small velvet box across the table. My ring. Return it to the jeweler, he said. They said because the wedding's canceled within the window, it's eligible. If you want to keep it to remember, that's your call. I don't. I picked it up and wanted it to burn.
It didn't.
It just sat there, cool and innocent. I didn't cheat, I said, hearing how pathetic it sounded as it left me. He almost smiled, like if he weren't in the worst conversation of his life, he'd make a joke about the world's lowest bar. I know, he said. You don't have to commit a crime to make a man feel like a placeholder. We went to premarital counseling that afternoon because canceling therapy felt like canceling the last dignity. Our counselor, Andrea, has the expression of someone who has heard every possible version of you weren't in the room when I said it. She asked Jonah how he found the messages. He told her about the iPad and the notifications. She nodded like, yes, this is how technology tattles now. She asked me why I used the word settled. I said something about fear and scarcity and the way Instagram turns other people's chaos into content that makes your stable life feel like failure. Andrea asked him, what would repair look like if it's possible? He said, without hesitation, hearing her defend me to her friends when I'm not there. Then he paused. But I also don't think I can go into a marriage hoping that starts later. It needs to be how she already is. We drove home without the radio. He packed a weekend bag because staying that night felt like a lie neither of us wanted to tell our bodies. Before he left, he stood in the doorway holding the knob and said, I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting the version of me that believes he's chosen, not settled for. After he left, my phone lit up with a string of messages from Lily. I'm sorry, I didn't think he'd hear. Are you okay? And one from his brother. He's here. He's safe. Give him space. I put the phone face down. I took the ring out and placed it on the counter where his post-it had been, as if geography could rewind time. On Monday, he emailed the venue before I'd finished my coffee. He CC'd me and included the contract language about cancellations so there would be no drama. He called the photographer and left a voicemail I heard later because he recorded it and sent me the file. To keep things clean, he wrote. It was 4 sentences long, kind, and final. He blocked me on Instagram because he didn't want to watch my friends triangulate the story. He didn't block my number. He asked me, in one last text, to keep anything we needed to coordinate in writing and fact-based. I wrote him an apology letter that didn't use the words, but, or just once. I apologized to Lily for turning a dinner into a performance. I apologized to myself for feeding a little monster inside me that only grows when you let other people's opinions be your diet. None of it brought him back. He wins because he didn't have to scream to be clear. He wins because he didn't read my messages to punish me. He saw enough to verify what his ears had already heard, and then stopped. He wins because he called vendors like an adult and ate the sunk costs quietly instead of weaponizing a spreadsheet. He wins because he told me the truth I had been trying to dodge with champagne and sarcasm. I called safety settling and expected the safe person to save me from my own boredom. After a week, He sent one last email with a list of accounts to separate and the final tally on refunds. He asked where he should send the box of my notes he'd kept since our first date. "I won't read them again," he wrote. "They're yours." I wrote back, "Donate them to the recycling bin." He replied with a single okay and a little leaf emoji that made me cry harder than anything else because he is the kind of man who leaves the room without slamming the door. I'm not going to pretend I learned something glamorous. I learned something boring and useful. Your private complaints are not harmless when you treat them as a sport. The people who love you can hear through walls you don't know are thin. And if you call someone Plan B long enough, even as a joke, you will wake up one day and find yourself not in any plan at all. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. She called him safe and told her friend she might have settled. He didn't explode. He verified what he heard, saw enough messages on a synced iPad to confirm the truth, then calmly called off the wedding and protected his peace. Lesson: what you say about your partner when they aren't in the room is the relationship. And synced devices have a way of showing who you really are. If you like this video, please subscribe for more. Thanks, and see y'all tomorrow.